Good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday, June 15th. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And if you're not a father, hopefully you wish to your dad a happy Father's Day. Today, I wanted to talk to you about scams in the workplace and kind of scam jobs that I've seen out there. Oh my God, there's so many different types of scams out there, but there's kind of three predominant things I've seen over and over the last year. So let's get into it. Part one. The first scam I've noticed is MLM/boss baby scams. Very few people actually succeed. And in Canada, under the Competitions Act, subsection 55.2, all multi level marketing organizations have to disclaim their percentage of profits. So, meaning like you have to tier everyone based on certain revenue brackets per year. So, if you're ever approached to join one, the first thing I would do, and what I have done in the past, is say, hey, listen, like, what percentage of people make over $10,000 a year? Um, and usually you'll quickly find out that all these people trying to entice you to join this MLM will quickly pivot away and stop trying to pursue you. When I was researching other MLM scams and kind of warnings, the Canadian federal government has like a whole, like multiple pages dedicated to things to watch out for when joining an MLM. Their kind of marketing tactics used to kind of deceive people to joining them. Now, there's a really great channel I used to watch years ago on this. It's called Always Marco. So if you've ever watched Philip Solo TV on YouTube, this guy, one of his friends, Always Marco, started a channel, and a lot of the videos are dedicated to exposing multi-level marketing scams. I highly recommend checking out those videos. Kind of the sad thing I notice with a lot of these multi-level marketing people is that, well, a lot of them are good people at heart. They just get kind of tricked into this. I don't want to say fake. It is kind of a fake business. They get tricked into a fake business. And a lot of these people could really be good at sales jobs too. That's the thing I've always noticed. Like, if you're that dedicated to, reaching out to your network, cold calling, going to networking events, trade shows, etc., why not actually join a legitimate company and actually build a legitimate career? So that's just one thing I've noticed. The chance of success in these things are so low. And if they don't really talk about the end product or who they're actually selling to or their target market, it's likely that you are the target market, right? They're selling you the dream, selling whatever products this multi-level marketing agency is talking about. So in the end, yes, you could make money. There's 1%, that do make, 50,000, 100,000 a year plus. But ultimately, you're not going to be that person, right? So it's better to spend your time, energy, and hard-earned money and do a skill and or job that will actually benefit you in the long run. Now, kind of adjacent to MLMs and these kind of boss baby schemes, the second thing I would say is remote closing and or appointment setting jobs. So going back to the first example where I talked about corporate sales, there are legitimate jobs that are 100% remote that focus on selling, right? Within corporations. However, these $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 plus courses that teach you how to be a remote closer are not the courses and or skills you need to get those jobs in the first place. Now, if you want to get one of these corporate remote sales jobs, usually you have to be a captain of industry. So whether it's going to school and getting a certain certification and or professional designation, working inside of corporate, going to those offices for years, you build up a resume and reputation and climb your corporate ranks, then maybe in time you'll be invited to either work 100% remotely or you'll get in contact with a recruiter within that profession who can set you up with that type of job. You spend $1,000 and I'll teach you how to remote close. Like these, like as far as I've seen, like these things that don't actually exist, right? They're just selling you a dream. So be really careful of that. Some people might push back and they say, oh no, there's tech sales or digital marketing, which is traditionally 100% remote. And yeah, that's true, but most industries are not. I mean, looking at the kind of more macro scale economy, um, a lot of companies are still pushing people to go back into office. And this is largely because during 2021, 2022, when remote work was really popular, is a lot of people were abusing it. Companies want to dedicate their hours to working for that one company if they're paying you that salary, right? I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's just kind of the corporate culture that I've seen right now. Even if you have a relationship with the CEO or CFO of a company, usually over a certain dollar amount has to be approved by the board. So for you to just close some random sale and say, oh yeah, you get the commissions right away, it's just BS. So watch out. Now let's go into point 3, high ticket closing. There isn't some secret to closing 5 or 6 figure sales in a particular industry. Now, I say this because if there was a market for such items, the supply would flood that industry to service those needs, right? So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. There are things where you can remotely work and sell 5, 6, or even 7-figure items to specific clients and or industries. But again, to get to that point, you usually have to have decades of experience and then be invited to sell those items. Usually it's not just like your junior person or someone that's been there a long time. You have to be there a long time, prove your track record and show your growth. And eventually you might be invited where you're doing hybrid and selling high level ticket items. The next thing I've seen in these high ticket closing videos is they're marketing gross sales. Now, this is an issue because gross sales does not equal net profits. Just because you sell $3 million of a product a year doesn't actually mean anything unless you actually have the net profit, right? So, maybe that's impressive for that particular industry, selling $3 million a year. But if your net profit is only 3%, that means the company's only making $90,000 total in revenue, right? Based on that product you're selling. And of that 90,000, you might only get a fraction of that, right? So depends what type of job it is, depends on the industry, the profit margins, your sales history, and sometimes your kind of salary to commission ratio. And what I mean by that ratio is that some jobs will have a higher base salary with lower variable, and some jobs will be vice versa, right? You have a lower base salary with a higher variable, and some jobs might be 100% commission only. So your total payable commission of that $90,000 in net profit can vary drastically between industries and positions. Now, let's talk about those commissions for a second as well. I've also seen these people say, "Oh, like once you close a deal, you'll get paid next week." yeah, that's a pipe dream. That's not going to happen. Let's walk through an example, right? Let's just say you close a deal on June 1st, right? And it's $25,000, and it's 10% margin on whatever widget you're selling. Okay, congratulations. That's great. Now, on June 5th, the actual invoice for that purchase order is ready and sent off to your client. Now, depending on the industry and the type of client you're selling to, there's different types of net payables. So usually in accounting, I've seen net 30, 60, or 90 days. And all this really means is that that client has 30, 60, or 90 days to pay that invoice. So for a June 1st purchase order, that would be anywhere between receiving payment between July 1st to September 1st. Now, okay, let's say you get paid September 1st. Now, your accounting team has to also receive that money, link it to your account, and pay out whatever percentage. Let's say you get 20%. 20% on 10% margin of a $25,000 sale is $500, right? So your company gets paid $2,500. You get 20% of that $2,500, so you're getting paid $500. Now, again, just because the company has received that money doesn't mean that commissions can be released to you immediately. Depending again on your company, that commission can be paid out monthly, quarterly, or sometimes even annually. And the annual one is a bit strange. It's not as frequent, but some companies will say your gross sales between all your different clients will be added as an annual bonus and paid out at the end of that fiscal year. So it's not super typical, but it can happen. Let's just say your company pays you out commissions monthly. Your customer's paid by September 1st. It gets added to the September statement. And then now you're not going to be either paid until September 30th or October 1st, depending on when you get paid. So you sold the item in June 1st, and then you're not getting paid until the end of September. The sales cycle is long, and that's not even accounting for all the time before the deal to prepare that invoice and prepare that sale in the first place, right? Depending on what your industry is, waiting 3 to 12 months to actually get paid on that sale is normal. People saying that you can get paid right away for corporate closing likely isn't possible for most corporations. That's just not how it works. So yeah, I would say in conclusion, be careful of these type of online courses and programs promoting multi-level marketing, remote closing, and or high ticket closing. Sure, these types of jobs exist, but they exist inside of pre-existing corporations and in flushed out markets. To get those jobs in the first place, you need to be an expert in your industry and be able to convince other people to allow you to sell on that company's behalf. So it's not as easy as it looks. Nothing ever is. But that's also why it's worthwhile, right? So take a word of advice. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.